live because I pushed. Yeah, I pushed the wrong button. I got to come out and mic you up.
Perfect. And that was
Tony, how do you like that?
Hey, guys.
Hey, yeah, Tony. Say hi to everybody, Tony.
Everybody out there.
Awesome.
All right,
That's our
Tony's the
briefing.
guy that
That's
makes
our
this.
evening briefing. We got Tony giving us the scoop on what's going on out there. That's
I'll see you guys.
all right. We'll see.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
I was trying to check this to make sure we're good,
We're live.
and hey, we're good.
Well, how good is that? We have Tony come here and give us the scoop on the bite, what's going on. Who was it? Who's still in that bite? Got
Pride.
10 The Pride's out there.
He's got 10 hanging right
As
now.
we speak, folks. It's not going anywhere, folks. This is November 2nd, and there's squid on the bank, so they're not going anywhere.
We're kind of easing our way into the show here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, bear with us.
Yeah, because I'm all screwed up as usual, but
Getting
hey,
coffeeed up.
I know,
Got
right?
my pre-show. I went down the docks, folks, and back some of the old days. Went down there to go pitch some little plastic worms and everything.
Don't get excited now when I put my hand down your
Oh
throat.
yeah, no.
All right? Try to control yourself.
But yeah, and I got bit twice, missed both fish. I need work. Need more practice, and that's what it tells me. I need to fish more with this particular unit here. But it reminds me. It brings back a lot of memories here at 22nd Street when we used to tie the boat up. The whole crew would get done once we're done washing the boat down, getting ready. Before we went out to eat, we'd always fish for an hour or so and knock out the spotties and the sand bass and the calicos, and it just brings back unbelievable memories.
All right. Hey, it's 6 o'clock,
All right.
I think, Danny. We're on. It's the Danny Kadota Show. Danny,
Let's rock.
it's great to see you.
You got it. Oh,
a little
good
bit
to
of a
be.
rocky start, but what do you expect
we're good.
with me running the show? It's always going to be rocky.
No problem.
Hey,
Get
you
it
brought
done,
it up,
man.
so let's let everybody know. We've gone through about a week, maybe 5 days of real slow offshore fishing. And most of the guys in the know said full moon funk. We saw it last month. We saw it the month before. And man, the last 2 days we started getting signal. And today it sounds like it's really good. The Pride was just on live on Instagram here out of 22nd Street.
Yeah.
He had like 10 fish going. Tony was telling us this. I know the Tribute earlier today, he was in fish, most of them 40 to 50 pound bluefin. Nice grade. The Aztec limited out today on the first of 3 days on the bluefin. So here we go. My question to you, Captain Kadota, it seems like every full moon this year, it's slow has it been that way I don't remember it like clockwork this year.
There was an old saying way a long time ago. I knew how my grandfather did not like fishing the full moons. My interpretation was completely converse. I like fishing the full moons, hitting the right particular phase. And some of the very best bites we had were full moons. I wouldn't be afraid of it. In fact, to be honest with you, when I was, and this is a different species, but when I was fishing those big largemouth, I targeted the entire full moon stage. There's times when I'd fish 7 out of 7 days with that full moon. And, typically you get maybe a couple, 2 to 3 good bite days. You get a few mediocre days and a couple tough days, but that's just fishing, But think about it. If I didn't fish those 7 days, and if I missed a couple of those good days, you'd have a really mediocre week. But I fished that whole span just to make sure. Yeah, and I have a couple of tough days, a couple of mediocre days, but I got them on the big days, on the good days. So it's just a matter of putting your time on the water, and it's no different with the bluefin, The other thing is we say that, but it could be time of day on these bluefin. It could be that we're not getting the exact same coverage, excuse me, but there's less and less boats out there right now too. So when you have the bigger coverage, it's easier to dial in on an area and focus on it. So there's a lot of things, but the fact is they're not going anywhere, folks. You got squid on the banks. They're going to sit there and fatten up all winter, and they're just going to get bigger.
And Danny, the weather right now, we look out the door here at this
beautiful.
gorgeous sunset. You couldn't control yourself. In fact, you came in and said, "Hey, Phil, how you doing? I'm going fishing." And then off on the
Walk
dock
down
you
the
went.
dock, just brought back memories. Now, I did bring this. This is sitting in my car still.
In case we get
In
kicked
case
out
we
of
got
here.
kicked out, we're sitting outside.
No
But
kidding,
no,
man.
it's good times. It's
It
good times.
is.
I
It
love
is. And man, just looking out the door here and seeing that
Oh,
gorgeous sunset
beautiful.
and thinking about it. We have a trip on the horizon tomorrow night, and it was looking bleak.
Oh.
But I kept hanging on,
You're gonna be
thinking
good.
it's going to be good. It's going to bite. In fact, Sam De La Torre and I, we did a live show Monday. Sam said Tuesday it would be wide open. I actually said Thursday it's going to be, and it sounds like it's starting to bust here. And it's biting
Oh, yeah.
daytime and
Yeah,
nighttime.
yeah, yeah.
It's nice grade fish.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
They get in the yellows on the anchor during the day?
No,
have
not
they fished
so
the bank much?
They're fishing around the 60 right now.
Oh, the 60. Okay.
yeah, and I'm not sure they're right
Okay.
on the bank.
Yeah, yeah,
I think they're
yeah.
off it a little bit, but that's what John told me from the True Line, because I was saying he was saying it's a little bit of a run from here to get to the 60. I forget how far he said, 100 miles.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something
Well,
like
it's
that.
60 from down there, but yeah.
You were
from
right,
here, it's-
right.
yeah, it's further southwest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
So
you know, like we're saying, I mean, so who's been sitting on Tanner and Cortez? Because I thought those tails had moved up there.
yeah,
Obviously with squid around, they're not going anywhere.
that
I think
mean,
we're going to have that fishing.
and
for
the
a while,
weather
too.
is going to be
Yeah.
perfectly good for
Yeah.
fishing that area.
Yeah.
So I think you've got the 60, you've got Tanner Cortez as an option. Maybe that 43 turns back on again. You've got yellowfin south of the border about 70 miles. There's a lot of options here
There's still a
for
lot of stuff going on.
November.
Yeah, yeah.
We're bumping up on
Well,
Thanksgiving now.
this is where staging down in San Diego, you got that edge to fish that stuff down below the yellowfin, and that stuff where, coming in from the upper end, we could look at the Tanner, Cortez, and it's, although it's equidistant for the San Diego boats, it gives us a great shot on those fish too, so yeah, who knows?
All
Who
right.
knows?
Good stuff. Hey, I got some comments I'll
Oh,
read,
my
but
God, here we go.
before I do, hit that like button out there, everybody. I don't want Danny to break into tears and
Yeah.
run out of
Yeah,
here.
that's right.
Hit that like button. Subscribe to the Friedman Adventures YouTube channel. Share this video right now with a friend and have them send in a question to Danny, who can answer them all for you with his vast knowledge and many, many years in the business. And remember, you can catch us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Don't forget also that I just did a podcast with my two boys on Bass Bros, and they tried to delve into my sordid past, Danny. So they wanted to know it all. We didn't even
Find any skeletons when they were digging things up?
skeletons. Perfect for. Hey, that's another thing. I'm glad you mentioned skeletons. Nice segue into Happy Dia de los Muertos today.
There you
Today's
go.
Day of the Dead.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful ceremony in Mexico. A lot of people think like, what's the morbid
Right.
preoccupation?
Right.
Everybody's running around with skulls, but it's beautiful. If you go to the cemeteries, which I've done many times, you'll have families, and it sounds like almost like it's what's the word? I'm like, not respectful. It almost seems, but it's complete respect. You'll hear the mariachis playing. Somebody's taking a
that's
shot
cool.
of tequila, and the reason why, that's Grandpa's hair. He made such a huge impact on my life. His favorite tequila was this. We're drinking with him today. We're remembering him. We're having the mariachis play his favorite song.
Oh wow,
And
that's
it's
interesting.
just a
That's
way
pretty
of
cool.
keeping it's beautiful.
That is
really,
that is
really
so
is.
cool.
So,
Yeah.
hey,
Oddly enough,
day.
I did almost the same thing. I went out with my grandkids Halloween night, the little ones, and we just walked up and down the street for a little bit at my daughter's place. But that was great.
Yeah,
That's
right?
all you need. Yeah.
Exactly.
So a lot of friends. Yeah, it's cool.
Live free, die free. Evening, Phil and Danny. Good to see you. He says,
you
rock
doing?
on. Sail and surf. Let's go. Heard the season's over. Please tell me different. Danny, tell him different.
It's different. Hang on. Don't put your gear away. Squid and everything out on the banks. Main body of fish seems to be moved a little bit further south. But guess what? When those squirts move up on the banks of the Tanner and Cortez, I guarantee there's going to be stacks of yellowtail, and the tuna are going to end up eventually being around there, and they're not going anywhere. When you got that bait on those areas, set in for the long winter, folks. And be prepared because they're not going anywhere. And those fish are going to be bigger next year. We're going to probably see a lot in the 300-pound class, I would think, next year. Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez, who's up there in the office with Janelle, and we thank them very much for
Absolutely.
hanging in here late for us.
Tony and Janelle.
Tony, Janelle, we love you guys. You guys make this all possible for us. But Tony was saying that hey man, I've been doing this for 3 years now. He's been working here at 22nd Street, and he goes, every single one of those years, we've been fishing right up till Christmas.
He just came in, gave us an update, and who was it? The Pride's got 10 fish going right now.
Yeah.
As we speak. So,
Right.
You know, it's not going anywhere, folks.
Do you think this
Don't
could,
put your gear away.
you think it could go past January?
Oh,
Do you think it can
just,
bite?
it could go year round.
It can?
Sure. You got the bait. You know, it's just, you're not going to get them every time, but you know what happens is when they transition, a lot of times maybe the bluefin will go down deep. You know, and you have to fish that 300 feet, kind of like how we fish at night, maybe. You know, but you don't know. But when you have that bait up on the bank, you know, and you got it, you know, the biomass of, you know, other bait, everything else. Plus, I think the yellows will home guard it, and you got the bluefin. I don't think they're going anywhere. They're not going anywhere. It's staged to have a nice winter time for us. It's just usually at that point getting the amount of players going out and keeping the coverage. Because with less boats, it's harder to stay on those fish, people, and that's the only thing that makes it, yeah, hit or miss. You know, when you have a big fleet out there,
Somebody
it's easier
finds
to
them.
cup contract. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're in contact with everybody. So you got a shot at running to and getting to a different area if it's off a little bit, you know. So yeah, it's just a matter of, you know, the timing and position, you know.
That sounds good to me. Live Free, Die Free says, amazing November, and the bite is kicking ASS
Yes.
for those of
Yes.
He's right. And
Yes.
so my question, Danny, is both you and I think you probably more than me, we've both been blessed fishing around the world. I fished the Great Barrier Reef. You fished the Amazon, for God's
Yeah.
sakes.
Yeah.
I fished in Taiwan. I fished some remarkable areas, Panama. So have you, Costa
Yeah.
Rica.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You know, I mean, I think this Southern California bite is world class, and I don't think I've ever seen it any better in any other part of the world. When you add the live bait operations that we have here in Southern California, the amount of bluefin that you can catch, they catch them over there on the East Coast, but they're not rolling in with 100 bluefin tuna.
No. And it's not like the way we're doing it. I mean, we're individually, you can get them jigging, get them on the baits. For goodness sakes, get them day and night. How about that? You know, we get them up on the bait school. You know, you get them on the Danes and the big baits during the day. You know, and a medium-sized fish, but at night with the 400 grams and stuff like that, you're getting the jumbos. So I mean, it's unbelievable fishing.
Yeah, I was.
Absolutely unbelievable fishing.
I firmly believe. See if you agree or disagree with me. Feel free to disagree, because I respect your knowledge. You've got more knowledge in your pinky than I've got. I think when you are fishing that nighttime jig, Danny, the two most important factors are dropping when the captain tells you to drop as fast as you can, and the dropping when he tells you to drop, and getting it to the depth that he told you to get it at. You can take the glow in the dark, the color, all that stuff, and throw it right out the window. This is me talking.
It's the depth. It's having your line marked. I can remember before the colored lines and stuff, I was marking it off in the backyard with mark slide. And I kind of did it how I used to do my fly lines. So every 60 feet. And I did it by fathoms because on the boat, you know, we were telling the guys, drop, these fish are down, you know, 20 fathoms, 30 fathoms. So, you know, you do it in multiples of 60 feet. So at 10 fathoms, you have a mark. At 20 fathoms, you have two marks I did with a mark slot. And that was old school. That's before, you know, the Iser colored lines. Wow, what a blessing that is. You know, what a great way to just drop it down in your head. You know that you got to get down to this one particular color. You just let it go. And usually, you know, when these guys is putting you on the fish with the meter, it's pretty accurate. So it takes a lot of the guesswork out of it, people.
All right, good stuff.
awesome.
Big audience tonight, Danny. Lots of people already
Awesome.
tuning in. That is
Awesome.
fantastic. Jeremy says, can't wait to meet up with you tomorrow. The free hooks are cool, but meeting cool people is what it's all about. Jeremy, I can't wait myself to see you. I should be down there around the horizon around 3 o'clock. I'm going to do a podcast with Captain Bill Wilkerson. So that's going to be
That's
great. Dane, as long as the squid hangs around, the fish will too. And that's a point you've been making over
No
and
doubt.
over again,
No
right,
doubt.
Danny?
Oh, yeah. You know, people used to say, well, they're going to travel back to Japan across the Pacific. Why? Why would you? I mean, come on. You got you got all that squid in your backyard. You wake up every morning and open your mouth, swim around a little bit, and you're good. So there's no reason for them to cross the Pacific anymore. You got the biomass of bait right here, and it's it's candy to them. So, and also expect those things to get bigger, folks. So be prepared with your heavier gear for next year too. Scale up, have everything ready. During the wintertime, make sure you get everything cleaned up, boiled up, change your top shots, whatever you might do, but be prepared because they're not going to get smaller. You're going to see bigger fish next year.
I love it. Kim Herbert says, "Hey Phil, what happened to your jigs that hung on the wall?" I guess behind Danny. Well, I'm shooting some jig fishing videos,
Yeah.
so I grabbed those and want to give Caddy Lures a plug in those videos that'll be coming out soon.
Awesome.
Sail and Surf saw the squid fleet around Seal Beach when I was coming back from Ensenada. I'm in Long Beach. What do you think gives us the best chance? Would you fish those bluefin with squid, Danny, or would you stay with Deans or jigs?
You take whatever you can get.
Yeah.
You take whatever you can get. I mean, when it truly transitions completely to squid, you really don't need anything but squid. But I've been out there where you have squid on the boat, and I'm still hanging fish on Deans, and you don't know, I still think a lot of those bigger fish are going to eat the big 400 something grains where we're fishing the deep fish, but you just don't know, Yeah, there's times when you could put a glob of squid on a big hook, and that'll do it too. But no, whatever they bite, and chances are good. If you're fishing a San Diego or an LA boat, you're going to have both on the boat, I would think. But the squid is definitely the candy. That's probably their number one choice.
In fact, something tells me you were on the Pride last year around this time, and you threw your first squid and hung the first bluefin of the trip.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, I thought
First
so.
bait, first cast. But yeah, and that's right. We had squid in the bait tank. Prior to that, it had been Dean fishing. So yeah, it's candy, and it's a different bite. I kind of like the way they eat the Dean, where they just, the Dean swimming off and all of a sudden just shifts gears and wham, But no, it was a little different bite. And I'm not used to fishing. Be honest with you, I'm not used to fishing a bluefin with the squid.
How was it different?
It kind of just mouthed it, munched. I kind of
Not as
wound
aggressive.
out. It was not as aggressive. Yeah, it could have been just the fish that I hooked because I'm not used to fishing them that way. But yeah, and I finally just wound down, tightened up, and then boom. And then once I put the hook in it, it let me know it was a bluefin.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. It's wild, right?
Oh
Fishing
yeah,
with squid.
it's fun, and even for me, that's a great learning experience because we never really fished, squid for tuna in the old days. It was all fly line chovies, light line, so it's a great learning lesson. And the whole thing is to continue putting all that stuff and that, the knowledge back up in your head, store it away for future days. But that was a great experience because that was my first real good experience, with fishing the squid,
Excellent. Dane says, buy the freshest squid you can and then take a few scoops of either chovies or sardines. Is that a good? Can you fish fresh dead? I would think so.
When
right?
I fish calicos, even yellowtail, a lot of times I would prefer to take fresh dead because that little cartilage, in the tip where you hook them, it seems to toughen up a little bit more when they're dead, when they're frozen, when they're dead, as than when they're live. It seems like it pulls out a lot easier, with a live squid. So I've always liked that. I've loved fishing fresh dead all my life for calicos and yellows and everything else too, sea bass. So yeah.
Good idea, it sounds like. All right, very good. Hit that like button, everybody. We appreciate you joining us for the Danny Kadota Show. Jeremy says he is going to do some rock fishing on Sunday. Best of luck to you. Sifa says last night on the Gale Force, we ended up, hey, Sifa, were you out there with Bob Givert and Nick Acosta? Did you happen to meet those guys? I went to grammar school with those guys, and they were on that trip. But anyway, he says he was on there, and they ended up on top of a squid nest and topped off the tanks and took some home. Also, limits of whitefish, limits of sheep's head, shots at big lobster. Also, those combo trips, they're great, right?
Yeah, I've done that. They're fun. They're fun. And go home with a bug or two, You know? Yeah.
And the guys, I guess, on the gale force told the passengers, "Hey, take all the squid you want." So my guy called me and he goes, "Hey, is this squid any good to eat?" And I go, "Heck yeah,
Oh, good.
it's
Calamari,
really
man.
good,
You
right?"
betcha.
Because he
Betcha.
was thinking,
Olive oil, garlic, parsley. Oh,
"Yeah, do you have a favorite recipe? Is that it?"
that's it. Yeah, yeah. It's an old Italian deal, but man, I'll tell you, it's delicious.
Where would you know
And
anything
you get
about
to-
Italians?
Yeah,
Huh?
yeah, from my warden. No, I grew up around the San Pedro Fish Market, and Tommy's mom, Mary Malfitano, was a tremendous cook, and she, would cook all that stuff, and especially being around all the seafood, that San Pedro fish, and so we were very blessed having Grandma Mary cooking for us, but she was awesome. But I picked up a lot of recipes, from her cooking and the way she did everything. So it
That's
was very
great.
good.
That's part of
Yeah.
fishing,
Oh,
knowing how
yeah,
to
absolutely.
care for your catch and prepare it so
That's right.
others can enjoy it too.
Absolutely. And that's the end result, folks. Yeah.
All right, Sifa said he did meet my buddies out there. Very nice people. Sifa, you don't have to lie. And really solid trip. Yeah, Gale Force, they do that trip. I mean, Bob Gifford called me and talked to me an hour about how enjoyable the trip was, the captain, the crew. It was really great. So I'm so happy you got to meet them. Sifa, I'm so happy you got to have a really, really good time. That is great. Gale Force doing those trips, and they are really spectacular.
that's cool.
Jeremy says, what are some good areas for sheep's head?
Jeremy, I have to tell you, the groups I carried were calico guys. And we would catch sheephead on almost all the spots that were catching calicos. But I never really targeted the sheephead. We were calico guys. But I mean, there's a lot of spots at Clemente and even Catalina.
One place that was really good in the old days, and it's still okay, is Ribbon Rock.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, on the backside.
Yeah, the backside.
Yeah,
Sure,
that's
sure,
a great little sheep's
sure,
head zone
sure,
there.
sure.
And there's some local areas that are pretty good. And of course, San Nicolas Island.
Oh,
It's
yes.
off the hook
Yeah,
there.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
got to be the
yeah,
best island for
Yeah.
sheeps, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's really spectacular there. Anthony, I'm kicking myself for not purchasing that last spot. Anthony, come over here. I'll kick you myself. I'm kidding you, man. We're going to miss you on this one for sure. Hey, who knows, man? Maybe it doesn't bite. And you might be saying, man, I dodged a bullet there. I could have been on that slow trip. But everything seems to be pointed at great weather, lots of fish, light switch going on every single day. Now it's getting better and better and better. The pride's in a bite. You just mentioned that.
yeah.
During the daytime today, there was some good fish. And man, I'll tell you, like I say, 40 to 50 pound bluefin, come on, with some 100-pounders.
Right. And like we said, it's transitioning too, from the swim baits to the squid. And that changes things. But they're there. They're not going anywhere, folks. With the squid starting to float all over and all those offshore areas, the banks and everything, we're going to see them all year. We're going to see them all year round. So just be prepared for it,
Naughty Boy 78 says pulling up the fish is about 10% of fishing. Do you agree with that? I mean, do you like the adventure? Do you like the camaraderie? Do you like?
Yeah, and it's figuring it out too.
Yeah, the mystery.
I mean, yeah,
playing a detective.
and we're talking about a perfect time now. You got a transition time between going from swim baits to squid, and it's figuring that out and implementing the right method at the right time, or do you use a jig with the squid? You're gonna have to get innovative, and this is where the fisherman that your mind's always going and thinking, how do I improve it? How to do it? Well, yeah. I mean, come on. They're fishing the big jigs on the droppers. If you took that big jig and tipped it with some squid, that's pretty irresistible, I would think, So, I mean, there's a lot of different things, different combinations you could play around and find out what will be the best. But it's getting out there and implementing it and trying it,
Yeah, I wonder about that, man. If the captain says 400 feet and you got a squid pinned on the bottom of your jig and you just drop it, you think you get? I imagine you would,
I would
right?
think so.
Yeah, right.
I would think so. Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like you would. That's
Yep.
for sure.
Yep.
Chet Young, who you had on your show here
Yeah.
recently, I think Chet would agree with that. What Naughty Boy just said about everything that surrounds a fishing trip. That's part of it too.
Oh,
Getting ready,
Absolutely.
You talk about the mystery.
Doing your homework, folks.
Yeah.
That's another one. Doing your research. If you have and the more involved you are with certain boats, and the contacts and the people, whether it's crew members or the captains or the landing people, that information is precious. That is, it's gold. It's gold because that's going to save you a lot of time. It's going to dial you in a lot quicker. You don't have to get on the boat and flop around and try to figure things out on the spot. You'll go down prepared a little bit better. But the whole thing is keep that mind open, be willing to change, and keep your eyes open when you start seeing a particular thing working better than others. Don't get stubborn. Try it. You got to make that change.
Yeah, and you're making a great point because you say do your research. That is
Yeah.
like before, but that research
Absolutely.
continues throughout the trip by being
Absolutely. By being vigilant and watching what's going on.
yeah.
You're going to see things. There's a reason why certain guys are hooked up the whole time. And generally, it's not luck, folks. It is not luck. So they're doing something right.
What do you think about walking up to those guys and saying, "Hey, what are you doing?" I mean, what's the worst they can say is
You
get
can do
lost,
that,
right?
and most of the guys are going to be real friendly and
That's
tell you.
right.
But honest to goodness, if you watch them, there's a reason. There's something they're doing. It could be the way they're dropping it, or they thumbing the spool. There could be, there's a lot of different things. But if you watch, they usually can tell. And I was blessed to be around some phenomenal fishermen, and that's what helped my game. Being around great fishermen too. I got to fish with the Jimmy Lou's, the Takas, the Corky Yoko. I mean, these guys all were record setters and just tremendous innovators and fishermen. Uh, you know, I watched guys like Butch Brown who came on, who was a freshwater. He's I call him the goat of largemouth bass. He's the greatest ever. Nobody has that dedication where he has 4 different boats to fish the lakes, thanks to California's stupid laws. Where you can't move from lake to lake. But he's dedicated enough to do that. Well, Butch, when he started to saltwater fish, he learned from all these same people. He fished with Taka's group, Jimmy Lou and Corky and these guys. And now, he went out and got a 300. Well, it's not luck, folks. You know he knows what the heck he's doing. He's one of those fishermen that's very special. The intuition, he's watching, the way he picks things up. Luck has very little to do with it at that point, people. It's that diligence in doing your homework and studying and everything, But you can all be there too. It's just focusing and watching. You can ask. A lot of those guys are more than willing to help you and help you out. But most of the time you could do it by watching if you're really focusing on seeing what they're doing.
All right, great stuff. Great
Yeah.
question, Naughty Boy. And Danny, great answer. Hit that like button, everybody. And make sure you share this video right now. Don't miss Danny and me, yours truly, December the 2nd at our Christmas party at the Redondo Beach Rod and Gun Club. That is going to be a lot of fun. You can go to our Facebook page, Friedman Adventures, and you can send me a text and we'll get you booked in. If you're Friedman Adventures Patreon member, you can bring a guest and yourself. Both of you go for free. You got an extra guest, we'll let you bring them too. So we just want to have a really good time and a really good party. Thanks for hitting that like button. I can see the likes going up as we speak. That is all great stuff. All right, Frankie Sanchez. Hey, Frankie, how's it going, my friend? He wants to know what's more durable, Danny, a Seeker rod or a United composite rod? Which one of those? If
Durability. To me, and I'm going to be honest with you, Frankie, durability, it's important. I don't think to me, it's not as important as performance. Now, I fish straight graphite, which aren't even close to any of those. They're a little more fragile, but I'm not going to break them because of the angles that I pull at. So if you learn how to pull at the proper angles, you keep them from 90 on down, you're going to pull a lot more, power out of it. Your power is going to be substantially higher. Your recovery is much faster with that. Now, in a composite, you're talking about, a blend of graphites and fiberglass, okay? Where more your Seekers are heavier glass for the most part. They're durable. They're probably more durable. Does it recoil as much? No, not near as much. It's much slower. It's the material is basically 6 times heavier than graphite. So, the other thing I see all the time is that these guys high sticking, and usually, okay, that's fine if you're using a glass rod, but if you're pulling it up over 90 degrees, people, you're basically you're not doing a whole lot. You're not getting that much pressure. When you equate it and quantify it, you're not gaining anything as you start going over 90 degrees. I think you've heard me talk about before at with the rod on the rail and down, if you can keep it angled down, you're going to be at your maximum pressure down at 30 degrees and 60 degrees. And the minute you get up above that, you start dropping off in pressure. So if you put it on the scale, you could be doing this all the way back up there thinking you're pulling like crazy. But if you put it on the scale, you're going to find out you got about 1/10 the pressure that you had if you would have pointed it down there. Now, if you look at why do we fish the rail now? Because one of it, if you keep that angle down there, you're putting much more pressure on that fish, and that's what incited like Joe Russo to put that rail thing so you can keep it under your arm and have that thing angled down the whole time. You don't want it up high. Your incidence of breakage is much higher, and you're pulling a lot less pressure out of it. So, it's understanding those things that will, you'll see it as you progress into fishing that way and fishing those angles. You'll see how much quicker that you'll get the fish up. They never get a chance to get their head up. If you're staying on it with your short stroke and a 2-speed reel, they never get a chance to get their head down if you're on it the whole time. And you're putting probably almost 10 times more pressure on it at a 30 degrees than you are when you get it up high above straight out, which is 90. So the minute you go up, you start dropping off in pressure. So, think about that. Practice doing that, you'll find out for yourself. So getting back to it, I would probably take a United Composites because it does have graphite in it. It's a blend of graphite and fiberglass. But for me, I'm fishing, and I got hooked on that a long time ago. I'm fishing straight high performance, and I'm going to fish straight graphite.
All right, great stuff. Breaking news, Danny. Tony Gonzalez just walked in here. Limits of bluefin tuna on the Pride. Limits. Full speed, wide open, BFT, baby.
Does not get better, folks.
Man, I wish I could do that.
Call into 22nd Street and
Freedom's going tomorrow night, I believe.
Yeah.
Gary Woodrum
Call Tony, but they'll get you on one of the boats, and let me tell you, they've got it dialed in. So
Tony and Janelle rule up there in the front.
Absolutely.
Thank you, you guys.
Absolutely.
Tony, thanks for the update. Janelle, thanks for all you do. Thanks for staying late for us. We are going to get tossed out of here at 7:15 or so, everybody. So get your questions.
Get your calls in quick.
Fast. Gary Woodrum was here not too long ago. He's running the Freedom tomorrow night, and he was very excited. He's a great kid, John Woodrum's son. I love Gary. Very polite young man, very capable fisherman. And I'm so happy that both him and Trevor have done such a remarkable job on board the Freedom, and they just keep doing it. So, Gary, go get him tomorrow night. Of course, we'll be on board the Horizon. Now that trip is really starting to look good. And the Pride just calling in with limits of bluefin tuna. Hit that like button, everybody. Let's get back to some more questions. Yeah, you got to love that, Dean. When the tuna yellowtail bite is off, try ball bouncing for halibut with the same baits. Yeah, that's one way to do it.
Well, yeah, it's depending on where you're fishing.
Yes.
Right, because you're not going to find too many halibut offshore.
On the 60-mile bank, yeah.
Or sheephead. Of course, unless you're on Tanner or Cortez and you're fishing the bottom, then you could go right down. Do
they have halibut out there?
Actually, no.
Yeah.
No, not that I know.
Have you ever seen one caught out there?
No, I haven't.
Wouldn't surprise me if there's
I'm sure
one.
There's got to be a few, yeah.
Because they had some sea bass bites out there in the old days, right? I remember Eddie McEwen telling me that he railed them out there.
I just never have.
Yeah, that's a harbor. They do that a lot in the harbor, that bounce balling, right?
Yeah.
Have you ever done that, Danny?
No.
I haven't either.
No, we did some good halibut fishing up in Alaska, but with the heavier weights, but that was down deep, yeah.
Here comes the guy with a very challenging name, Puck You. I don't know, but if it's still not protected, Huntington Flats was a good place for sheep's head years ago on short trips. Yeah, I mean, they still catch them around here. They're going to inhabit rocky areas, right, Danny?
All the local banks, Osborne, almost all of them.
And sheep's head are a very good eating fish, right?
Yeah, I don't keep them, but I have friends that love them.
Yeah.
Because of the texture, the firmer texture.
Do you eat boccaccio? Do you have a thing against, like, some people have something against
Well,
focaccia?
we were spoiled, you
Yeah.
know.
So
We were
you're eating
spoiled. I
reds
would
all
take
the time?
the reds, chilies. I took yeah, we were spoiled. What can I say?
Yeah, no,
We're on a
no,
boat,
yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right, Kim Herbert is trying to go from Missouri to an Orange County wedding, or I think he is going to that, but he wants to get on a fishing trip on the 12th. He's praying for a multi-day trip out of San Diego. You should be able to find one.
I would just start calling the landings. I'm sure they do. I mean, look, your Horizon Trick. I'm sure
Yeah.
a lot of those guys are all, all
Chomping
booking,
at the
so,
bit.
Yeah.
As long as fishing
make
stays
your calls.
good, Kim,
Call
I
the
think
landings out there.
you should have a good chance to do it. I believe the 12th, I'm pretty sure that's a Sunday because Eddie Leland's memorial is Saturday the 11th. So that's how I know that. And so, yeah, I wish you the best of luck. Hope you can get on at least a day and a half trip. If the fish stays where it is right now, day and a half, 60-mile bank, no problem.
That's all you need.
You can get like a little bit of a nighttime bite the first night, few hours.
Yeah.
And then maybe a few hours the second night.
Yeah.
Because, with the sun setting at 7-ish,
Mhm.
fish till 9 or so or 10, and then get it back in. So there you go. Sounds good to us. Oh, he said there's not enough bodies to go. And hey, that Kim,
Yeah,
that's
give it a little time.
Yeah,
give it a
that's
little time.
typical.
That bite's still,
It's-
bite's still going on.
and it's
Still
fall,
fall.
so people like to wait and see what the weather's doing and how the bite's doing. But I will admonish you about one thing, Kim. Our trip on the Horizon was doing the same kind of a thing, and all of a sudden it filled up like ASAP. So be careful. I mean, you're probably already signed up, so you don't have to worry, but don't wait too long or you're going to miss out. Omar, how do you determine where to set your lobster nets? How long? What time? Any details would be deeply appreciated. You know anything about that?
You usually want to set them on hard bottom areas.
Yeah.
But there's areas that they have. You can check. They'll have coordinates on hard bottom areas, and you can place them on that. I know when we did a trip on one of the boats out of Redondo once, and they had all the poolers. We basically just sat in while the crew did all the work, and that was the best one I ever had. We sat in the cabin and just drank coffee and had snacks and got limits of lobsters. And let me tell you, that was the best.
Yeah, heck
I didn't
yeah.
have to touch anything. It was
I know,
perfect.
man. It's so
Yeah,
good, right?
yeah, Yep.
Gotta love that.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree with Danny. You're hard bottom near rocky areas. They're going to crawl out and start looking for food out of the rocks and crevices. So that's where you want to. And by the way, Omar, we did a 2.5-hour seminar with the guys from Promar Ahi. You can search that up there. Just type in the search bar lobster seminar, Friedman Adventures, and they'll go into a 2.5-hour detailed explanation on a lot. I learned a lot on that, Omar. So I definitely suggest you check that out. Hit that like button, everybody. Steve says, good evening, Phil and Danny, to which Danny and I say, good evening, Steve, right?
Yes, sir.
Good to see you here. What are people taking for tuna trips these days, asks Omar. So kind of the kitchen sink kind of scenario again,
because
right?
you always have to have that big outfit. I mean, you get out there and you get on these 200 to 300 pound fish, and you don't have the tackle for it, you're going to be kicking yourself. So you got to have the span. You got to have the 100 pound plus rod. A 60 and 80. I fished the whole thing, but if you don't go back down, spread it, get it down to where you have a bait outfit down at 30 pound, maybe start with 30 and go progressively up, maybe 30, 50, 80 or 100, depends what you're set up with tackle, but it's not going to hurt you having more tackle just in case, but I carry the span. Yeah.
Balboa Fish Group says, let the sea set you free. Danny, that's been your motto in life, right?
You got it.
Man, no kidding. Steve says, Danny, have you ever fished 30, 40, or 50 fluoro on 25-pound mono?
No, I kind of keep it. I match mine almost exactly. If I'm going to fish 30, I'll put 30 fluoro, 30 mono on 30 fluoro, and I don't use as long a top shots of mono anymore either. I got it backed by a lot more spectra, so it the lines moving around a lot a lot faster because you got less weight with the spectra, and you don't have the line drag. So,
all right, good stuff. And how do you like the title of your show tonight? Bluefin tuna are back on the bite in SoCal. Man, somebody
Well,
had
they
a
never.
prophetic. In case you didn't get the breaking news, everybody, several boats in on limit style fishing,
Yeah.
including the Pride right here at 22nd Street Landing. Just called in here. Tony Gonzalez and Janelle let us know that he has limits of bluefin tuna and the grade of fish. I don't know what he has on the Pride. We haven't been able to talk to him. We're doing a podcast, but there's been a lot of that 30 to 50 pound fish with some
Yeah.
100 pounders mixed in.
I haven't seen any small ones.
Wow.
I haven't heard of any small
Yeah.
ones anyway. And now that they're on the squid, I think we're going to start seeing more and more, on the bigger fish too.
Yeah, me
You
too.
know,
Me
yeah.
too. Israel de la Cruz. Hello, Phil and Danny. I'll be down at 22nd Street Landing December 17th for a 1.5 day trip on board the Pride. Best of luck to you, Israel.
You're going to get them.
I thought you were going to say you're going to be here December 2nd for the Friedman Adventures Christmas party. Would love to see you and the kids at that. That would really make my day. If
There you
you
go.
can do it, that would be great. Naughty Boy 78, Rip Rollers for nighttime, Colored Line, and Tough Assist Hooks. That will make a big difference. What do you think, Danny?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like we said, these fish aren't getting any smaller. Expect to see probably from this year to next year a lot more in that 300-pound class. I mean, we look at it like, how can that happen? But let me tell you something. If we look back to when those seiners got those big fish up the line,
Yeah.
those
Those are those 800, 900, 1,000. Yeah.
pounders. Yeah, we were
Now,
around.
you're talking 30 years ago?
Yeah, I was still running boats because I remember seeing them, weighing them. As I went by the market there in San Pedro.
Yeah.
They had one on a big scale, and it was the one they had up on the scale was 800 and something, but they were huge. They were huge. The problem they had with some of those big tuna was their big nets that they used for bluefin they hadn't used in years, and some of those big fish just swam right through those things, tore them up. But the ones that they got, they paid for itself, and that's when they learned to process the fish, take care of them, bleed them out, and those things were packed in boxes and shipped off to Japan, and that really started the difference in the care and learning how to prep those fish and spike them and bleed them, and it made a big difference. It changed, when they started changing bluefin from cat food to highly priced sashimi that's getting shipped by air to Japan. So that changed the whole thing for us. the
Oh,
whole
my
game for
God.
us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Some more breaking news, and that is that the Red Rooster 3 today was down on the ridge, had about $1.20 on the yellowfin tuna, excellent yellowfin tuna fishing. He is now headed for the Stones. He's going to Alejos Rocks because the Polaris Supreme had
They're getting
70.
some whoos, quite a bit of whoos.
Yeah,
You'll probably get whoos and yellows
yep,
there. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's some tremendous
good
fishing.
fishing.
Yeah.
Great fishing.
The fall
And that's
bite.
typical for fall.
Yeah, right? The
got it.
variety.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
It's
Doesn't
incredible.
get any better. And that's just good news, period.
Yeah, Royal Polaris is down there
Yeah,
also.
That's awesome.
Polaris Supreme is down there. So all those boys are having some exceptional fishing. And then, of course, this local bluefin tuna back on the bite again. Coming off the full moon funk is what we're thinking. Who knows, though? All we know is they're biting again, Danny. And
Well,
that's good news.
I don't think they're going anywhere with that squid moving in, Yeah.
Omar, I came across a pre-owned CalStar 870-7 foot rod with a 15 to 40 pound rating, and it's made from e-glass material. Is this a quality option, and can you provide me with some information about e-glass?
That was state of the art years ago. It's still a good material, a great material. It depends on your fishing ability, to be honest with you. And if you have the capacity to do it, if you can tell the difference in your casting, a graphite rod will cast better. It recoils considerably faster, but depends on what you're comfortable and the level, because they're not as durable. You have to keep the rod from generally 90 degrees on down, and you'll never break it, but it will recover. It's lighter. It'll recover. The recovery rate's much faster. You put the fish on quicker if you're really short stroking it, and if you have it matched with the spectra and everything else, your timing with your reel and using a 2-speed reel a lot of times. When you have everything matched perfectly, you've got an ultimate outfit out there that's lighter, that will put a fish on quicker. You know, it's like driving a Ferrari instead of a Cadillac. The Cadillac's going to be, the Cadillac's going to be tough. But, you know, what's going to get you there quicker? It's going to be the Ferrari, you know. But you have to know how to drive it. And that's part of it, you know.
All right, good stuff. Danny, I'm looking out the door here, and I told you Gary Woodrum is running the Freedom tomorrow night. He's down there on the boat, hosing the boat off, working all alone, you know, just trying to get the boat ready. Get. I mean, this is a labor of love, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. He's doing that, you know. That comes out of his heart, you know, God bless, you know, the guys that are, you know, it's late in the season. Usually you're burned out. But look at this, you know. He's fired up, and he's doing it for all you people out there. So go fill up the boat tomorrow and go kill them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Give him a call right now. Tony's up there waiting for you. Mention Friedman Adventures and the Danny Kadota Show, and you know what they'll do? They'll probably hang up on you. So be careful about that. Hey, MJM, that's Mark. He says, hey, Danny and Phil, I experimented using a 3/8 ounce egg sinker on the Grande 3 weeks ago to get underneath 25 lines and tangles from my newfound friends on the boat. And it worked. 4 40-pound yellowfin tuna back to back.
That's awesome.
Does that sound good to you? Yeah, why not? Well, it sounds great, right?
Works, you know? Yeah. And if you're on to that, you know, that's great. I mean, if you want to share it with your friends, that's even better, you know? But, you know, that's the thing about trying different things and changing it and reading the water and how the fish are reacting. And if you notice, that's what it was getting, maybe with the 3/8, just got it down a little bit quicker. That's what it took. But it's all about figuring it out. So congratulations. You know, when you have something that works, I like sharing it because, to be honest with you, the more fish you have been around the boat, the more those fish will stay tighter to the boat. You'll help develop your own bite, you know. So that's a good thing for everybody on the boat.
All right. And Mark is jumping on the San Diego tomorrow, Danny. He says he wants our luck, and he'll send us a report when he's back. San Diego, great boat, working hard.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, you know, this bluefin is around the 60, but I think it's just up everywhere. So, I mean, they had 10 bluefin yesterday on board the San Diego, which is more than they've had for the previous week. So I think his chances are really good.
Oh, yeah. Those fishermen scattered all over. I mean, we had the bluefin at the Coronados, you know, on our trip back in June. So, you know, there's so much of it around. You know, you just stumble into the right areas. Keep your fingers crossed.
There you go.
Be ready.
All right. Speaking of being blessed, Jolene Thompson is such a dear friend. She is such an outstanding angler, but even better friend, I've got to say. Jolene says, hey, Phil, thanks for all you do and the fun 2023 charters you had this year. What are your charter plans for the spring of 2024 out of 22nd Street? See you tomorrow night on board the Horizon. Can't wait, Jolene. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm just getting that together, Jolene. Probably we'll be able to announce our plans in the next couple of weeks or so, but you can rest assured we'll be doing stuff out of San Diego, out of Ventura, out of 22nd Street Landing. And who knows, I would love to do something south of the border. I want to go down there with Danny and find those carnitas plates that he was eating 30 years ago down there for $1. I want to find those,
that's
Danny.
The best bite of all.
Jolene, great. Thanks for joining us tonight, Jolene. Love you, and we'll see you tomorrow night. DJB, metered braid is becoming my favorite feedback tool. Great for bluefin, fish yellowtail at Natividad last week, helping yo-yoing to know how deep you were fishing and where the bite was in the water column. Yeah.
Hey,
You're so right, DJB.
Hands off to Wendy over at Iserline.
Yeah.
That was one of the smartest things you did. I mean, that was absolutely awesome. Russ is very proud of you, Wendy, but that you know, the colored line, awesome. I mean, I did it old school with the marks lot. And trust me, your line color is a lot better because I'm sitting there as I'm dropping, I go, oh, was that 2 or 3 marks? You know, the difference between 120 and 180 feet.
Yeah.
So, you know, I did it old school before we even thought about that. But I mean, that was the way I did it, you know.
Yeah.
The line marks.
Well, let's go
every
real.
10 fathoms, yeah.
let's go real old school, because I bet you had the same experience I did. When I was a kid, you're fishing chili peppers. Now, chilies are not normally on the bottom. They're up
high,
higher
string up
sometimes.
high. Yeah.
And a deckhand or some guy on the boat came over to me. He said, "Oh, you bit right there?" And I said, "Yeah." And he takes a piece of paper and puts it in my reel. And he says, "Reel over that, just a reel." And he goes, "Now you know where to drop next time." And you drop down to that paper, and boom, you're bit. And so that's real old school.
Yeah, it is. Oh my God, chilies are so good eating. Too.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they
Amazing.
rattle, man. They are
Oh
good.
yeah, yeah. They stack on the.
DJB, great comment. Thanks for sharing that. You're so right. Knowing the depth you're at is so important. Omar, pier fishing has proven to be challenging in recent times. Do you have any suggestions or tips to enhance my success? You ever fish piers?
All the time when I was a kid.
Oh, there you go.
Well, you know, Redondo, and I mean, down in Long Beach.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, Belmont, even down Oceanside. Used to go down to Oceanside, get all those juvenile white sea bass. You know, my grandpa used to call them sea trout. I didn't know.
There's
they
no,
looked
there's
like
no
tom-
size limit on those sea trout. Just throw them in the bucket.
Yeah, back then, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why he would throw certain ones back and the tomcod back, but he'd keep the sea trout, you know. But yeah, no, it's
Any tips?
It's
I
amazing.
mean, do you fish high tide? Is bait like different bait, or
you know, I was so young, and my grandpa had everything dialed in, you know. And I mean, he knew whether we were going half day fishing or we're going to go fish Redondo or Oceanside. But he did his homework. He did his homework. Basically, I saw him. I would go into him with him on Fridays, and he would be at Millie's or a lot of places in L.A. And he'd get his intel. He'd do his intel, grab the tackle for whatever particular place we were going to, and he'd do all the rigging that night. And the next morning we're off, you know. So I watched, but I did learn a lot about getting my intel at tackle shops. So folks, depend on your local shops for the your hot and dope on their fishing. They're all dialed in, and most of them will have their own boats that they work with. I mean, not necessarily mention all the boats that we talk about here, but they all have feelers out, different landings, different boats, and keep you abreast of what's going on. And what's different is when you get up in like Ventura and everything else, you're going to get a whole different avenue of information, depending on where you're fishing. So, yeah, stay abreast with your local shops that you fish with and the areas that you're going to be fishing in.
good stuff, Danny? Steve says, let's say you're pulling up to the spot early morning in the dark, and someone accidentally drops something and makes noise. Does that scare the fish away? Some people say that about sea bass,
We
right?
do that about sea bass because we used to put the anchor hand over hand.
Right.
But then I've seen people just kick it, blank, and get bit right away. So you know what? Just for myself, I did that when I was bass fishing. I was pretty stealthy when I was freshwater bass fishing. It was just in my head, and I would set my anchors far enough away from the spots it wouldn't interfere. It wouldn't be anywhere near the area, and then we'd scope, way out, and then pull it up tight. So really, there was nothing near the structure that we were fishing. So
You don't think so, right?
but on the ocean, I was psychologically inclined to be very stealthy when I was freshwater bass fishing.
Yeah.
More so than when I was on the ocean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, very good. DJB, Danny, starting to see the light on graphite rods. Caught multiple yellowfin tuna in the 40-pound class on single speed, which normally would be painful. The tip recoil on graphite made all the difference.
People, I've been utilizing graphite for so many years from the time it was first brought out, when it was in its experimental stages. This is a long time ago, people, and I saw it then. I saw some of the pitfalls, but that was on the early graphites. Now, depending on how they're made, how they're laid up, they can be very tough. The other thing is, once you fish them the correct manner and keeping it from 90 degrees on down, you don't high stick. And then you'll find, and again, I think I've equated this and told you that the minute you high stick, you drop off in power. So why would you drop off in power but increase your chances of breaking the rod? That's not too smart, folks. So when you keep it down low, you got a faster recovery rate, and the incidence of breakage is almost nil or very low, very low. So by learning to fish the graphite correctly, you're going to find that you're going to put more fish on. They come in quicker. They recover. The recoil on the graphite is much quicker. So
All right, good
there you go.
stuff.
I'm glad you got it.
Yeah, he's loving
That's
it, man.
awesome. That's awesome. Absolutely.
Hey, everybody, in case you are not aware, we've been breaking the news here that bluefin tuna bite is back on again. The Pride just called into 22nd Street Landing in San Pedro, California, and limits of bluefin tuna. I know that the Aztec on the first of a 3-day trip down out of San Diego had limits of bluefin tuna. The tribute was headed toward it. There's a lot of 40 to 50 pound BFT with some fish to 100 pounds. It's 1-day range of San Diego. I think day and a half is perhaps better because it gives you a little bit of a nighttime bite in addition. But this bite is back on, and you've been saying it. Don't worry, everybody. They're not going anywhere.
They're not going anywhere, folks. Not going anywhere. I want to see a bunch of chovies trickle down in that cooler water, and guess what else? Those other guys might show up.
You
We
think?
never know. We never know. I don't discount that till.
You still giving that a
season's over.
shot?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And we're talking albacore
water's
now,
nice.
everybody.
The water's nice. If that biomass of chovies is still around, that's what they like, and it's not too cold for them. That's for sure. I mean, those things have been spending their whole summer up in Canada and Oregon and northern Cal. So yeah, we may have it. Who knows? Just keep our fingers crossed.
Danny, you were talking last time you were on the show about bluefin tuna bait fishing, and you were talking about how you liked a back hooked bait. Do you like that over every
I've
method?
been doing
Or
that on some of the on that one particular trip I used it a lot, but I've been fishing it more and more.
can you
I-
describe how to do that and why you think it's effective?
You could do it actually from where the fin is to just ahead of it a little bit, or just behind it a little bit, or put it right on top of that, right through where the fin is, the upper fin. You got that bone structure there. It seems to hold it in place. It won't pull out as easily, you know. But I think having that line above them creates that much less that those fish are going to see. Even though I'm using fluorocarbon, I think that it's a stealthier way to see it because the line's on top rather than running underneath. And I'm going to tell you, the bluefin have the best eyes in the business. So if you keep anything in an exposed area where they can see it, I think it works against you. But that's just me. And I'm going to be subject to changing my hook positions if I don't get bit. So keep that in mind too. Don't hold everything I say as gospel, because as a fisherman, you have to be compelled to figure it out yourself and say, hey, that didn't work. Let me try this. And you keep trying things and changing things till you nail them. And when you nail them, you'll find that it might be on that one trip. Maybe you hook them like that for the rest of your life, but you have to continue to, figure it out. And that's what fishing's all about, folks.
Hal Cooksey joins us. Hal, how are you, my friend? He says, hello, Phil and Danny. Is there a processor that you prefer? He's going to be fishing on a point one with sport fishing. Do you have a favorite processor?
I personally use Fisherman's processing.
Do you know Sean over there
Yes,
at Fisherman's?
I know Sean very well.
For years, right?
3 years.
I remember when he was a little
I knew his
kid.
dad.
Yeah.
That's we're all
He's
way- goes way
retiring.
back.
Did you know that?
You're kidding?
Yeah, he's on his way to Tennessee here
Oh wow!
pretty quick. I mean, I saw him down there, and so I walked over and I said, Sean, I haven't seen you for years. I just wanted to say hello. And then
Yeah.
he was nice enough when we got back in.
Yeah.
He walked over and said, Phil, it's 30 years I've known you. I'm retiring. I just
Yeah,
want to say
yeah,
goodbye.
yeah.
And what a nice kid.
Oh,
I
he's
call him a
awesome.
kid. He's not. He's
Yeah.
retiring.
Yeah.
But when I still remember him being a kid at Fisherman's Landing when I was fishing down there, and he
Exactly.
was super polite and a nice
He's
guy.
he still is.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
awesome. He's
Yeah.
awesome. I am my partner and I, Jeff. I mean, we just have a standing order with him. So listen, first one's off on the angler trip. It's all going to him. So I mean, we still support him because he does a beautiful work, and what can you do? I mean, and that processing deal, holy smokes, Saves us so much time. What we do is I don't have it all processed. I call my friends if they want fish, coming down and get it.
Do you make them
Coming down
come to
and get
San
Yeah, I
Diego?
make them come to get it because what happens is
Yeah.
they could have a choice of either processing or take it home and do it themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah, because that's part of the beauty of it, giving fish away, but
absolutely.
the processing bill, hey, buddy, you take care
It
of
was
that.
getting ridiculous.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
That's a heck of a Christmas
Yes, it was.
present. Hey, Hal, both Danny and I wish you the very best while you're
Yeah.
out of Point Loma. And there's a lot of good food
Oh yeah.
the processors down there.
Yeah.
I don't
yeah.
know if there's a bad one.
No,
You know?
I don't think so. I think those guys are all very good.
Did you ever deal with a guy named Mario down there? Do you remember?
That's over at Seaforth.
It is, yeah.
Islandia.
He
yeah.
was such a good guy.
Yeah, that's what
He
I hear.
took care of a lot of my charity events. So if I had a
that's
charity
cool.
event, he'd
Yeah.
say, do you want 50, 60 pounds of bluefin tuna or something like that? And I'd say, yeah, heck yeah. And he'd send that over, and it was great. So
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know he's passed on.
Yeah, I know all the guys over there at Islandia and Seaforth were using them too because it's right there.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah, when you're.
Do you recommend people do that, process their fish, or take it home and clean it, or is it up to
You know
your
what?
financial
Yeah,
situation?
and it just depends. I mean, it got to the point where I used to process almost all of it, and it was extremely expensive, and we're just giving it away. So we said, listen, you want a tuna, come down and get it. Take the whole thing. Whether you have a choice of doing that or not, having a process, that's great. I have a lot of friends that go home and they love cutting them. Old crew members.
Yeah, right.
They're better. I mean, they're phenomenal fish cutters
Yeah.
anyway. I just am getting too, to the point where I don't want to sit there for a whole day cleaning fish. I
Right.
used to do that, clean fish all day just to give it away.
Yeah.
And I said, when
I
get
did the
home,
same
play
thing.
with my dogs, the family, see the family and play with the dogs. And yeah, hung it up. Said this so much we're gonna keep, and the rest just give. My dad always said, give it all away. Let everybody enjoy it while it's fresh.
Yeah.
And I get that.
You
That's the best thing.
absolutely
Best
cannot
thing.
beat it, man.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
What do you like to do with bluefin tuna? You know what? I'm starting to get really hung up on, and I've had it before, but just now I'm loving pokey.
Oh,
I'm loving
there's
pokey.
so many things. Yeah, there's poke's probably one of the best. But you can sear it. There's seared tuna. There's all kinds of
Yeah.
What I would take a loin, cut it, roll it in furikake.
Yeah.
Sear it a little bit and then cut it. I mean, there's so many different variations that you could do that it's so good. It's unbelievable. I years ago used to give a lot of my yellowtail away. Not for some reason, my taste buds have changed. I would rather eat yellowtail now for a lot of stuff. And then recently I did a dish, and we learned this with traveling down with Steve. You told me down to the Bay of Los Angeles, where the pangeros now. While you come into the launch ramp, he'll sit outside, the launch ramp, fillet a yellowtail on the spot, cut it like sashimi, lay it on the cutting board, squeeze lime. Folks, listen to this one. It's so simple. Squeeze lime, hit it with tapatio, which is the sauce of Mexico.
Right.
Hit it with some Kikkoman, and we're using Kikkoman Light. Dice up a bunch of cilantro. You throw that on top. Okay.
Fusion.
Red onion, dice it up, throw it on top, and then finish it with some serrano peppers. Now you could, like for me, when I'm doing it for a lot of friends, I'll take the seeds out so you get the flavor of the serrano, but you don't get the heat. But down there, they cut the seeds and all, and I mean, it'll fire your mouth, but it's delicious. And you eat it with chips. You eat it with chips, or what was the other thing they eat it with? I forgot. But they'll do crackers sometimes. But
Yeah.
The fresh tortilla chips that you get at like your new Superiors and Numeros and Mexican stores.
Yes.
They're really good chips. Eat it with that, and you will knock it out of the park, folks.
Can't
knock
beat it.
out of the park. So it's a fusion between sashimi and ceviche now.
Yeah.
And of course, all of our food has gravitated that way.
Yes.
Phil, you and I have gone to Andy's sushi bar.
Love
There's
that.
so many different things.
We gotta
and
do that
variations.
again.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah.
We will, absolutely. But then that's where, folks, where you gain the experience. I would actually recommend, I mean, if there's some wives that are interested, just he's got some weekend courses. He's got some short courses where you can learn, where your husband fishes a lot, or you may fish, but you want to start throwing your holiday parties. they'll teach you how to do stuff that you can.
What's the
knock it
name of
out
that
it.
place?
It's
The Sushi Institute,
Los Angeles Sushi Institute, I think.
something
it is.
like that, in Torrance.
In Torrance.
I think if you Google
Then
Sushi
it's,
Institute in
Andy
Torrance.
Matsuda's his name.
Yeah.
But he has taught all these different cruise lines around the world. He's chef schools all over the world, and I think he's employed and taught more. Well, his chefs come in from all over the world, the people that go to his school. So he's put on more sushi chefs than anybody in the world that I know of. He's phenomenal. We've had the blessing of getting to sit in and have his students do their pre-testing with us. So
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Oh man, and they're all so nice over
Yes,
there, and
they're
it's
so
a great
cool.
place.
Yeah.
Can the public go?
I don't know
experience that or
that they
not?
can. Yeah, we've
Yeah.
had that invitation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's because
We've
we're
invitation.
special people, right?
Well, yeah, and then we have I give, when you get an extra big tuna, I got no place to put it. That's the other place I would
Yeah,
just say,
there you
"Here,
go.
donate it.
You're
to
a smart
they're
man.
your students. Let them practice on this."
Yeah.
But we would get to reap the benefits down
Oh
the
my
road.
God,
Yeah,
did we ever? That was
it's
so
awesome. Yeah.
nice.
Doesn't
Hook-
get any better.
Hook to Cook says, sounds fire. He's loving all this
It
food.
is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, especially coming up on the holidays, folks. If you have that bluefin, let us know. I'll put together some recipes for you that we learned through Andy and some of the stuff that we innovated over the time, with the furikake and searing the bluefin with the furikake on it and slicing and serving it. There's so many different things that we have coming up from the holidays that we might put together maybe a recipe book, and we'll have a show on that coming up soon too.
Yeah, you know
That would be a
what?
fun deal.
We should go get Andy and like the three
There
best
you go.
the three best bluefin holiday dishes and have
Yeah.
him do it. And
We'll go shoot it over his
that's
place.
right,
Perfect.
man.
So we'll find somebody, we'll get a bluefin donated, we'll take it over there.
I'll see what
We'll
I
get
can
it. We'll get it from the cutting of it
the whole
to
thing.
you and I woofing it down.
the
Perfect.
most important part.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, by the way, Hal says you guys are making me hungry, and I just had dinner.
Yeah.
Poor
let me
guy
tell
just
you,
ate, and he's already hungry again.
the aesthetics and the way they do everything, it's done a certain way, but I'm going to tell you, you can do this yourself. And many years ago, I went to Bart Hall, and I was telling Bart, I said, you do these big shows, and you got all the families coming in there. The wives are pushing the kids around a stroller, and they might buy a T-shirt or this and that. But I mean, there was really nothing to them. So I got Andy to go in there and do some of these sushi deals. Well, when the wives can throw these sushi parties at their house when their husbands get back from the trip, and all of a sudden they get raved about. Next thing you know, they're kicking their husbands in the butt, saying, "Hey, get out and go get some more tuna." Hi, well, okay, dear. That's a tough thing, isn't it? So,
Right.
I've always thought that, that's a great way to get the involvement too, bringing in the family with that stuff and implementing these things for parties. And that's how Andy did it too. I mean, we did some of the early promoting, we did some of the first videos at my house. But I mean, that's what it's about, is getting all these different ways to utilize it too. And it's fun. It's fun when you get a bunch of people together and have the sushi parties and stuff.
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, folks, and Danny, believe
Yeah.
it or not, we have about 10 minutes to go, and we're at an hour and 15 minutes
Oh,
already.
wow.
And we
Did
are
that
getting kicked out of
fly?
here early. So you got any questions, come on in with
Yep.
them. But I think you've touched on something here, Danny, because people are
Oh, I
sending
see
in some recipe ideas. Puck you says basil pesto on grilled dorado or yellowtail to die for. Man, I
Yes.
love it. That
Yes.
garlic.
I see
flavor.
the next one, the furikake tataki. Well,
Yeah.
I learned that from one of our old captains, and he was our code boat, Rick Kawada. He was on the New Hustler. And my daughters would not eat sashimi when they were young, And so he told me, he says, "Hey, Danny," he says, "we take the loins and we roll them in furikake. It could be seaweed. It could have the bonita shavings on it, roll it and then sear it slightly and then just on each side, very slightly, cut it." And we started doing that at parties, and and like he says, it's the best, and we would knock it out at parties. So I did that at Day at the Docks. I started doing that at Day at the Docks, and learning all these different things, and teaching people that, if it becomes a hit at a party, How good is that for you guys?
Yeah, right.
You know, your wives are going to kick you. Hey, get out and go get a tuna, get a yellowtail, whatever, you know. But I mean, with these recipes, you know, it really comes full circle, you know, for the whole family to enjoy it, you know.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Alan's back and he says yellowtail collars with Japanese mayo, super tasty, right?
Absolutely. Get your list down, put it all down, Alan, and bring it back. We'll match them up. But those are all different things.
Do you
that
like
get
the
over
collars?
there. Oh yeah.
Yeah, right?
For that. I never used to. You know, as you get older, you have your taste buds change, and you know, there's different things. You know, we used to try to give everything away because I didn't want to deal with it. And there was a time when I was young, I didn't eat fish because we always, you know, we just gave it all away. But,
Because
you know,
what,
as you
being
got
around it
older,
too much?
Yeah, you know, my grandparents fished every weekend. I would fish with them, you know, and they would eat fish every week, but I could not back then. I can, you know, my taste buds have changed. I'd much rather eat that now too than anything else. So yeah, changes in time.
All right, Pucky says try Helix composite rods. What are the composites? He asks.
Well, it's probably I'm sure it's graphite, and I'm sure it's you know, I'm sure it's got glass if it's a composite. You know, I don't know what else. You know, guys over the years have had different materials, but the problem is if you're using dissimilar materials that don't match well, it will create a separation in those areas. So you got to make sure that it is blended right. It has to be rolled under a high enough compression. If it's rolled too loosely, the fibers will break away if they're dissimilar. So there's a lot to it. It has to do with the resin systems, the compression, and the compatibility between the materials.
All right, very good. Anthony Noriega says, only problem I have with processing is that it's not your fish.
That's not
Should
not
be your
true.
fish,
It's not
right?
true with the fishermen's.
Yeah.
You know, I know you could stand there in the window and you could look at your tag as they're cutting it, and you know what you could say it's your fish. You could see it. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It depends. You know, I'm not familiar with a lot of the other.
I haven't heard that
companies,
complaint before.
but I haven't heard that too much
Yeah.
either. Yeah, I haven't heard that at all.
Daniel Liano says, guess what? I'm cooking my tuna right now.
All right. Cool.
He's doing his thing. Hey, well, what do you say we I think it's time to wrap it up because they're going to throw us out of here.
Yeah, we don't want Tony and them, you know, pulling out the sleeping bags.
And we really
Ready to
appreciate
go
all
tonight.
they do, right, Danny?
Absolutely. Thank
Yeah.
you for being here as it is, you know.
Are you planning on doing any fishing here in the near future?
I haven't even thought about it, Phil. But I mean, if this bluefin thing's, you know, like I said, to me, I don't see it going away. I'm in no rush. But what's going to happen, people, and be cognizant of this, is that as it gets closer and closer toward Christmas and everything else, you know, the poor fishing guys want to spend the family. You know, they've been here on the water all year.
Yeah.
They're going to want to spend some time on, you know, with their families too. So, you know, hopefully they will put together more trips and they can book them solid and keep busy. I mean, that's always a blessing. I certainly like to have fish around the holidays, and especially for like the Japanese. You know, you get around New Year's. Japanese New Year's consists of a lot of sashimis and a lot of those type of dishes. So, you know, we would really look forward to getting a fresh one prior to that. So that'd be another month out, maybe, you know. But I think they're going to be here. I think we'll have a shot at them.
DJB says, my neighbor's doing a kitchen remodel and gave me a 21 cubic foot vertical freezer for free. Guess I'm going on one more trip this year. He's going to fill that baby up.
There you go.
Best of
There
luck.
you go.
Omar, thanks, Danny and Phil. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate your support, and save up your answers and shoot them at me next week.
That's right. We'll be
We'll
here
talk to you
next
then.
Thursday.
You got
We're
it.
not going to slow down. Danny, thanks again.
Folks.
Another great show.
Appreciate you
Do you
guys.
feel like that was an hour and 15 minutes? It feels like 10 minutes.
We've been doing marathons recently. That was pretty good. That
Yeah.
was fast. Yeah.
All right,
Short and
everybody.
sweet.
Have a great
See you.
evening.
Have a good one.
Thanks, Danny.
Bye. You bet.